what I know. Better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes. Call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right.
Yeehaw, soldiers. It's your boy, the Anime Sage, coming to a nerd video. And yes, as you saw from the title, for all you OGs out there, or for all of you who have been, looking through my channel stuff and have been wondering about this type of series and or whatever, yes, I'm reviving it, or I'm gonna do my best to revive it, I guess. So, as you've seen from the title, this is the Pokemon anime rewrite, I guess remastered. So, yeah. So this one is going to be called Chapter 0. So, I'm basically what you're seeing with this type of new structure is that instead of like organizing my stuff into parts, it's going to be organizing in chapters, like if you're like reading a manga or a fanfic or whatever, because at the end of the day, I guess this is how I kind of want to structure it. And I do like the concept of it. Like, I could do episodes, but I think chapters are a bit better because I'm essentially going through chapter per chapter and stuff like that. And a lot of the influence that I have is kind of from, like, fanfics, in combination with, like, the games, some of the anime, and, of course, manga elements even from that were there to, like, make the series a bit more dark. So, that's there. So, I guess, let's just get into a couple things in terms of this rewrite. First off, the main character is obviously going to be Ash Ketchum. Now, I could always have thought about, like, switching him with somebody else, like, I don't know, Red or something like that, but here's the thing. With Ash, I believe that he is a bit of a poster child to the Pokemon franchise, and he's a bit more of a significant character. And I also think that you need to fix his character versus scrap him completely, in my opinion. Even if I have, like, the most control of this rewrite, I think that he should have his character improved versus scrap completely. So Ash would remain the main character of my rewrite. Now, I think we'll go with the all-important pairing. And as we know from the actual Pokemon anime, you kind of see Ash going with, to a lot of regions, and he sees a female come along with him, and, he kind of catches him. I'm kidding, Villa. But you see Ash traveling with a lot of female companions, and I'm thinking of going, either two routes. The Aram route or the Serena route, but I think I'm going the Aram route because I think it actually makes sense because Ash seems to be very focused on, two things, catching on the Pokemon and catching on the ladies. But I think it also adds a bit of that, edgy type stuff and can add like a bit of a flavor to it. Well, also, and also this is actually something that I would have done for the original rewrite because, it kind of makes sense. And it was actually the foundation of why I started actually doing Arams for my what ifs, because I was thinking of doing an Aram for this, so I guess that's there. Anyway, starter. I'm scrap Pikachu because I think I can allow him to capture it along the way. So here is the 4 stars I'm choosing between: Charmander, Bulbasaur, Riolu, and Bagon. So these 4 Pokemon kind of have a bit of, sense to them in a way. Charmander, it was Red starter. Ash is a bit of the counterpart of Red. So you can say, okay, Ash should get Charmander, which is very obvious, but it does make sense. Bulbasaur is a Pokemon that was Red starter in the manga, the Pokemon manga. So yeah, that's kind of why I want to think about giving him Bulbasaur, because Bulbasaur, again, was Red starter for the manga. So we're gonna go like the Origins route with Charmander and have that parallel there, or we go with Bulbasaur, which manga style. So that's there. Next one, Riolu. Now, that might be a bit shocking to some people, but think about this. Ash, throughout the entirety of the actual anime series, has shown that he has had a lot of talent with Aura. And I feel like him having Riolu as his starter would actually allow that to be explored very early on, and Ash can learn how to control Aura and stuff like that. I do want to keep that in the actual, this rewrite, because I think if I'm going to make a rewrite, I would love to explore Ash having Aura, Aura control or manipulation or whatever, and see how that translates, because, if it translates into something like, I don't know, maybe instead of like Lucario getting a Mega Evolution, he just gets an Aura form because Ash and Lucario's Aura bond is so strong. I mean, it'd be pretty interesting and would make Ash very OP, because if you got like Mega Evolution, Ash Greninja still in the canon, or Balbon, I guess, and some other Pokemon along the way, Ash at his peak would essentially be, insane, but yeah. And finally, Bagon, because I read a fanfic from, Pokemon and stuff like that, and it kind of had Bagon as Ash's starter, so I kind of just put Bagon in there, even though I think it makes the least sense, but it could be a pretty interesting Ash getting an out-of-gen, or actually, yeah, it actually is an out-of-gen or out-of-region Pokemon, because Bagon was introduced until Gen 3 and in the Hoenn region, so it could be pretty interesting, and it could kind of, connect Kanto and Hoenn in a way, who knows. Heavily influenced from the games and anime, with maybe some manga elements, and 2 fanfictions in Road to Pokemon Master and Pinnacle, as well as some other Pokemon fan games in between. There are also some other fanfics into this, but I'm not going to mention them here, but I feel like those are, and I feel like the other 2 fanfics are, the major influences here. So, yeah, I really think you guys are going to like this story in a way. Also, the fan games themselves are stuff like Insurgents, Uranium, that type of stuff. Anyways, regions up to Kalos, all the way up to Galar in terms of the actual game canon, and as well as potentially other regions from the fan game universe. So Ash could not only travel, to the actual canon regions, but also the actual fan game regions. So I think that should be pretty interesting in my opinion if I'm trying to make this rewrite. Starting age for Ash and certain trainers along the way, 13. I think it makes sense having a bit of a teen type of vibe versus like the 10-year-old kid vibe if I'm trying to aim for a bit of more of an edgy approach with like teen stuff and whatever. But I feel like that also allows for more of a journey of instead going for like a long-running adventure of a kid going throughout the entirety of regions. It kind of focuses on a teen trying to reach a certain goal and also becoming an adult and growing along the way. So I think I can add some stuff there, so, And how will the age actually progress? So every 6 months from like every major region like Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn, for example, it's around a 6-month journey. So yeah, when Ash hits the Kanto region, he'll be around 13 and a half years old. But if he's also, going for like something, let's say the Orange Islands or the Battle Frontiers from Hoenn and Sinnoh, he will age around 3 months. So, for example, if he went from like the Kanto region and then to Orange Islands, he'd be like 13 years and 9 months. So, yeah, that's how age is progressing. Every major region journey, 6 months, and every minor region or something else, 3 months. So, yeah. So, here's the purpose of this rewrite: to correct the issues of the Pokemon anime with Ash's character and progression. Also meant to correct the flaws of the Pokemon anime. Anime will feel more of an adventure saga with full canon connection to the movies, except movies like I Choose You. And I want to feel like, Ash's character who's progressing. I want to earn his accomplishments, not only have them, given to him. One thing that will affect Ash will be luck, skill, and will, which is fine. I want to make him more relatable as a person. And I also do want to add more stuff to Ash's character, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But that's kind of the main purpose of this rewrite. So, that stuff there. Companions, whichever ones I choose, but most likely a female companion for every Ash has. So, then he adds them to his harem, so, Now, rivals. There will be the same rivals like in canon, but there'll also be some new ones, such as Silver, the MCs from each of the actual Pokemon games besides Red, such as Gold, Lyra, you got Brendan, May, all that type of stuff. So, the world is kind of going to be very vast for Ash, and Ash is not going to really have a, shortage of rivals. And I think having some of these characters here, like, Silver and all these other type of interactions, it'll be fun. Pokemon for Ash, basically more variety, and it'll be a blank slate that I will build from scratch, starting from the starter and up. There'll be Pokemon I think Ash could work with, Ash should have caught/kept from the actual anime, or Pokemon I think would be good, to show different varieties of typing, because Ash didn't have certain types until, a certain point. And also, he will catch legendaries. Now, he's not going to catch every single legendary, but he's going to catch legendaries I think that he should have, So, that's there. Will there be new arcs? Yes, such as the Battle Frontier in Sinnoh, the Pokemon World Tournament, and there'll also be the movie arcs, of course. And, of course, there's going to be some fan-made movie arcs in and of itself. So that's going to be pretty crazy. Region adventures will be, treated like sagas, and then mini regions and Battle Frontiers like Sinnoh and Hoenn, they'll be treated like actual arcs. Now, for Pokemon Master, which is a big one, I'll be defining what a Pokemon actually is, throughout the series, and why Ash wants to become a Pokemon Master. Pokemon Master will be someone who has conquered every region, as in beat every region's champion, while also having a decent amount of Pokemon. Obviously, there should be some morals for Pokemon Master as well, and there'll be examples of Pokemon Masters in this rewrite that Ash can look up to, or there could be some other routes as well, so, Mechanics, there will be the same mechanics introduced in the actual canon, except for Dynamax, which will be replaced by something called Delta Pokemon. Get hyped, as well as some armor Pokemon, from the Pokemon Insurgents game, like Armor Tyranitar, Armor Zekrom. So, yeah. World building. I'll be making sure to display relationships between other regions and how they interact with each other, as I feel that was not explored from canon. And I will also see what these, character education was like, have certain trainers prepare for the Pokemon world, and some more fun stuff like that. Ash himself. Ash will have his ups and downs, but is going to be progressing like a trainer who should be prepared for the Pokemon world should. He'll be a character who will have his own backstory and will do what he can to achieve his dreams, because Ash doesn't really have a backstory. You just see him with his cap, and, he just, goes throughout the regions, and you don't really know why he wants to become a Pokemon Master fully. I feel like the only place that was actually explored on what a Pokemon Master is, or even why Ash wants to become Pokemon Master, was the I Choose You movie, so, yeah. This is also not only going to focus on Ash becoming a Pokemon Master, but also watching a team become an adult. You will feel like he is growing along with you, and will feel attached to his motives, while also watching him grab an Aram. So, a bit of those edgy type stuff in here, but also some good progression in terms of characters and stuff like that. And I also will, again, make this very clear, the story will also have its very dark moments, stuff like that, and that's kind of what I want to go for, because, the Pokemon manga is kind of dark. So, that's kind of where these elements are coming in between, so, yeah. Now, how dark exactly, with the stuff that comes from the manga, there's so far that I'm going to go into, but I will explore some themes more so in depth that the actual games kind of maybe did not really want to, explore unless they had that rated E for everyone rating go up a bit. But, some more stuff. Anyways, if you guys feel like I should add anything else to this rewrite and stuff like that to make it more grand and stuff like that before I release Chapter 1, I, will take the suggestions. So, let me know if you guys have any suggestions down in the comments below. And I think that's about it in terms of me breaking down this rewrite and stuff like that. So, yeah, I hope you guys support this. I hope you guys, watch and stuff like that. It is something I want to explore. I also, before I leave, I will be starting back the original story in Pokemon Origins Johto, episode 3. So, get ready for that. I will start writing that as soon as I can. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. And by the way, let me just complete this by saying this. For this channel in the future, I want to explore 6 different things. Arc pitches, which are essentially me talking about arcs I think should have been in certain anime/mangas. Reviews, because I want to discuss the aspects of storytelling and some of my favorite stories, stuff like that. Or discussions and stuff like that, There are original stories, Pokemon Origins, rewrites, stuff like this. Fanfiction readings, stuff that I'm preparing for. And, of course, what-ifs. But I can also feel like I can explore what-ifs in a different way, such as maybe having, what-if versus battles with some of my what-if characters or some other characters throughout the universe, and some more fun stuff in between with that. So, I guess prepare for that when, that kind of comes. But I will stick to, again, mainly storytelling for this channel and stuff like that. Anyways, so, yeah, this has been your boy, the Anime Sage, with the first chapter of the Pokemon Anime Rewrite, with Chapter 0, putting all the background information and stuff like that. Sign out. Peace. Yorta. Stephanie Shea. Close us out. Bye-bye. Peace.
Hi, this is Stephanie Shea, voice actress for Sailor Moon, Hinata, Orihime, and you are watching Anime Sage.